Hello and welcome to this week's Type 1 Thursday. I am so happy to have you here and I can't wait to discuss this super exciting topic actually because it has a lot to do with blood sugar management, about diabetes, although we might not think about it. I asked on my Instagram stories if I should do a Type 1 Thursday on sleep and the importance of sleep, and everyone, or a overwhelming amount of people, thought that was a great idea, so this is what I'm doing. So, sleep. We have to really step away from this old notion of, we can sleep when we're dead, we can sleep later, we can catch up later. No, we really cannot. Normal. What's normal? No, but healthy, proper sleep is actually super duper important for us, for our health and for our well-being. So no more pushing it till later. A good sleep hygiene is very much worth investing in. So you should invest in your sleep, and you should definitely make it a priority, because it is not, no backseas, as Sheldon Cooper in Big Bang Theory would say. You can't take it back, and you can't make up for it later. So it's very important that you handle that. So sleep science is growing and growing exponentially right now, and it is showing that sleep actually is essential to your health and to your performance, even though we might not feel like it. We can push through and all these stupid things that we tell ourselves. No, it actually is super important for our health and performance. So how much sleep do we need then? Actually, we need 7 to 9 hours a night, not a week, not anything else. We need it a night in order to function properly and to reap all the benefits that sleep does have, because it is quite astonishing. This is when sleep becomes restorative, when it becomes rejuvenating, and I'll go through the couple of types of sleeps or sleeping patterns a little bit later. But first of all, don't think that you can survive on less than 6 hours of sleep a night, unless you are one of these 5% of the population, I think, that have a genetic mutation who makes them able to survive on less than 6 hours of sleep. But otherwise, it will lead to a lot of problems, such as cognitive dysfunction. Your immune system won't work. I'll go through it. So the brain is trained actually to disregard sleep deprivation. So you might not even notice if you are sleep deprived or not, or have had too little sleep. So what does enough sleep do? Like, what are the awesome features that come with enough sleep? Well, one of them is, of course, which is super important right now, is immune function. Your immune system cannot function without proper sleep. So if nothing else, it is very important for you to get proper sleep right now, so that your immune system is on 100% and on top. Your energy and strength, that goes without saying. And of course also blood sugar control. Yes, it does help with your blood sugar management, because lack of sleep is of course a huge stressor for the body. And as I say all the time now, stress is the blood sugar killer #1. So try to eliminate as much stress for the body as possible. Also, it can aid, if you need to, it can aid in weight loss, because your hormones are regulated when you sleep properly. It can also lead to better skin health, for example. And of course, things like coordination and flexibility are increased when you do sleep enough. As I mentioned, hormone regulation, but not just the hormone regulation in terms of weight loss, but also in terms of stress management, in terms of emotions, in terms of everything. So sleep really helps there as well. And it also leads to better, because your hormones are then regulated, it leads to that you can recover better as well, and you don't have to actually, well, as in you can drain yourself and then recover better if you sleep better. And also, of course, focus and creativity, and this leads to better performance as well, which is quite of an important thing. As I said, emotional regulation, we react in a different way when we slept properly than when we haven't. I'm sure you recognize this. And longevity. Some studies actually show that when we sleep better, we live longer and healthier. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Also, our resilience grows a lot when we sleep properly. So it's not a bad idea to actually prioritize your sleep. Also, something that is very in the air right now is that proper sleep also helps your metabolic function. And there is, of course, a lot with the immune system right now, but also with metabolic function and metabolic syndrome. So maybe there is something to the fact that you are not sleeping properly if you are suffering from something like that. This can, of course, in turn, if your metabolic function is not optimal, it can in turn lead to insulin resistance, both type 1s and type 2s, of course. So if you haven't slept properly as a type 1, you can get insulin resistant by it, actually. And you can, or if you don't have type 1, you can actually start developing functional insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. So just by the lack of sleep, and of course other co-founding factors, but lack of sleep can be a contributor. Lack of sleep makes you produce a lot of cortisol. So as long as the cortisol is high, it cultivates a gut bacteria in your gut, of course, and that can also be a problem because that leads to poor health, and that's poor immune system, and all of it. It all goes in a circle. That's why sleep is so important, because all of this goes in a circle, and they go hand in hand. Good sleep also gives you, of course, you become more effective when you think, improves your reaction time. In terms of, whether it's sports or in traffic or just generally in life, your reaction time gets better. And of course, it helps your memory function better if you sleep better. So what are the types of sleep? Well, there are 3 main ones, I'm sure, and we, fluctuate between them all night, every night. And that is light sleep. There is REM sleep, which is 20 to 25% of your total sleep, and that deteriorates with age. And this is where you dream, this is where your memory improves, this is where you become or have creative thoughts, because some of our dreams, I can tell you, if you've ever paid attention to them, they are quite creative, if not to say crazy, but yes, a bit creative. And the third one is deep sleep, which is 0 to 35% of our total sleep. And that's very individual depending on what you're used to. And that's where it's very restorative and rejuvenating. And that of course is also needed for your body to regenerate. So what are some sleeping tips? And I will post a graphic on this a little bit later when I'm done with this, but some sleeping tips that I have come across myself and from other people is, for example, no screens at least 1 hour before bedtime. This can be very challenging because what does one do without a screen nowadays, especially when we're, maybe on a lockdown, may or may not be on a lockdown, and we need to somehow entertain ourselves until it's probably bedtime. What does one do? Well, read a book, read a magazine, do something just creative outside of the screen world. Make sure that you have a bedtime routine also on weekends. I mean, seriously, most of these tips make you sound like a really boring old person, but I gotta say, they do have a point to it, because most of them actually, they're not that bad. Like, they actually work. Make sure that the temperature in your bedroom, in what you're wearing, and in your bed linen, like the thickness of your duvet and stuff like that, that is suitable to how you sleep the best. If we are too warm, we don't sleep well. If we're too cold, we don't sleep well. So we have to be like Goldilocks and just right in terms of temperature in order to sleep well. Don't have any big meals or, a really strenuous exercise right before bedtime, because that gets your pulse going, that gets your digestive system going, if it is food, and that it won't have time to come back down in time for your sleep. So don't have anything heavy to eat right before bed. And this also, of course, more diabetes specifically, also helps with your blood sugar control throughout the night if you don't do anything crazy right before bedtime, and you know what the outcome is. Also, of course, unwind, but that's easier said than done in some cases, and especially now. But do unwind and make time for unwinding in the evening so that you can fall asleep swiftly and carelessly and get rocked away by your sleep. Limit alcohol right before bed especially, and this of course also has a huge blood sugar benefit. Limit caffeine after 2 p.m. Seriously, I sound like an old lady, but this old lady has a point. It is very it's very beneficial to cut the caffeine after 2 p.m. And this also has a blood sugar benefit, like a lot of these tips actually do. Move your body regularly, not right before bedtime, but, you know, during the day and in the days, you know, regularly move your body and find out what you think is fun to do and how you want to move your body, and make sure that you get a little exhausted at times, because that does help with your sleeping patterns. Make sure that your bed is for 2 things. That is for rest and for romance. Nothing else. Do not watch TV in bed. Do not technically play with your phone in bed. Don't, you know, nothing. It's just for rest and romance. And you will thank yourself, and maybe even your partner is going to thank you too for having that new rule in your life. Yes, I mean, napping is fantastic, but they have to be well timed. So ideally nap before 3 p.m. so that it doesn't impact your night sleep. Either from the beginning or towards the end of your day. But naps can really help as well. And wearables. Do, if you can, measure your sleep. It's actually quite interesting. You can do this with, there's tons of providers out there, but there's, for example, the Oura Ring. There is, you can use Fitbit, you can use the Apple Watch, you know, all of these things that you can track your sleep with, so that you see how much you sleep on which level, and how you can improve it. Now I want to hear from you. Do you have problems sleeping, or is sleeping a breeze for you? And what are your best sleep tips? Do share them with us in a comment somewhere on the interwebs. I'll be happy to chat with you there. Until next time.